I put some primer on this, cleaned up the rest of it so I can do it all at once. And so you get an angle here, you can see that this area is not really done. It's got a lot of little dents and stuff in it. There we go. Now you can see them pretty good. Yeah. So I'm gonna work on it a little with a hammer and a dolly. Try to get most of that out before I try to bondo it. Well, that looks pretty good. I mixed it real light, so I had a little time to work with it. It was still hardening up. There's not very much bondo there, maybe 3 golf balls, and I wasted half of one. But it's pressed in good and solid. I used that rust converter primer on there so it won't rust underneath this. And from this area, or from this angle, looks real good. And there was a little bit of stuff right down in the bottom. I found a little hole down there. I'll probably have to do something about that and weld it. But I wonder if this will zoom. It does zoom. How about that? Headlight ring's nice, but there's a little rust out right in the back of there. But all of this, and I put too much bondo right there. It looks like a lump in the fender, but it's not. And the rest of it, I didn't put much back there because it's got more of that old bondo there on the back of the fender. I was mostly just interested in that place that I cut out there and redid. So looks pretty good. I'm gonna let this dry a few minutes, knock it off with some 80 grit and mix up some real thin stuff and put on it. Well, I shaped it all real good. You can see there's very little body filler on here. And I'm hitting metal in a lot of places there, so that's probably as good as I'm going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some real thin stuff and coat it, and come back tomorrow and it should be hard enough to sand and get a good surface. Well, I mixed that up real thin, but I mixed it too hot, so it hardened up on me before I could get it on. But it's pretty much everywhere. It looks good, and it's going to get real hard. I noticed right in here, this is where I welded it. It looks like his lip needs to come out a little. Kind of hard to tell. This one here might have a little too much bondo on it, but it's all good and solid across there and straight. Filled up all my scratches, covered my high spots. So let this get good and hard, and I think that's a good lick for today. Got that whole thing sorted out to the back of the fender. I don't know what's going to happen back there. I know there's a lot of bondo on that lip, but this front's looking pretty good, and I'll be able to get my crease. I can see the crease there in the metal, so I think it'll look just fine. and just go on to the next day. Well, I was kind of hoping I might be able to save part of this, but I don't think so. You can see all the Bondo I dug off of it. This is 3/4 of an inch thick here. It's got a pretty good cave in right here, and it's oil cannon real bad. You see where they brazed it here, all the way down here at the bottom. It's not too bad. It's coming in. Got some kind of a straight edge. This is not really too straight. Yeah, even there with just a bad piece of paper, you can see that it's 3/8 of an inch at least. The fender's coming right about this area. If I cut this right in here somewhere, I could probably pull it out. It looks like I've got a big kind of triangular area right here that was caved in pretty bad. I don't know why they did it this way. Went to all the trouble to braze that all up and put a new lip on it. Maybe the brazing caused it all to sink. I don't know how well this camera is showing it, but that's a awfully big dent right here. I could either cut it back here past the brass and in here pull this whole piece out here, or cut it right alongside the brass and pull it out and then put a new piece. One thing's for certain, I either have to put this much Bondo back on it. I tried to save this big heavy piece here because that's a lot of Bondo, you know, and it looks like it's in good and it's bonded to the metal. So if I don't have to, I don't want to take it all off. I'd rather just fill it, but getting down in here into this metal, I don't know. Might be possible to just weld another piece over the top of this. It's flexing real easy. I push it with one finger and it's bending. I don't know, I have to think about that a while. I went ahead and board sanded this. I thought I made a little video of it. I didn't. This knocked off that fine coat I put on there yesterday. I got to fill this a little right in here and a little right in there, but the rest of this all looks real good and straight, so I have to do that. And then I was going to try to clean this edge, and that's how I wound up getting into this business. So no use trying to put a little bit of Bondo on that area whenever I got all pile over here. I'll try to figure out what am I going to do with that big dent. I ground this off a little more. The fender itself, this is fairly straight. Right up in this area, that's pretty good. And we're hitting right at the edge of their fender well. You can see it's pretty close there, but I get down here and I got 1/2 inch in there. Down here it's 3/4 inch, and you can see that it's been caved in right here along this area and right along this whole area here. So from here up is not too bad. This looks like it's a lot, but it's at an angle. And right here you can see there's maybe 1/4 inch of bondo. This is about 1/4 inch right here. So basically this whole thing from right around this point up to this point has got to be at the very least cut and brought out. You can see how big of a gap I got in those two places. Right here in the middle, see, even that part is probably 1/4 inch down. Over here we're looking 1/2 inch. So this whole section here needs to come out. The only thing I can do is try to cut it here on the inside of the brass so I have something good to weld to. Try to pry this whole thing out to where it's fairly straight here. So it would be right about where that is. Now I've got I'll have a 1/4 inch gap all the way around here. I don't know if I can put a little plate or something to match this. Well, I'm going to try it down there on this bottom bad part. I'm just going to cut it right in here, see what I can do about pulling that out, and then we can determine what to do with the rest of it. I cut that out. Almost immediately it started popping out, and I'm able to get a pry bar in here and sort of start tweaking this. I've actually bent it a little, but you can see immediately there that it's 100% better. See, this is right now just almost flush across here. Even this big dent now is pretty close, and down the bottom it's alright. So I think that I can just make a little piece right in here about this wide and weld that in. I'll get this straight, and then I'll cut me a little piece here to fill this gap and weld it. This will sort of shrink this curve, because it was, well, I don't know where it was now because of the bondo, but this is basically about 2 inches, and I can probably make this curve here about 1.5 inches from this point to the edge. Anyway, I'll get my little dolly up in there and try to get this all straight, and then I can patch this. Well, here it is, pretty much pounded out, or pried out. Now here's my straight edge, and it's got a little hole right in this area, but it's like a 1/16 of an inch. Probably because this edge right here is a little high, but right in this area it's perfectly flat. Up here it's perfectly flat, and up here same thing. So I still got my little dent right here, but now instead of 1/4 of an inch deep, it's like a 1/16, and right about here it all disappears again. So you can see how much is in here. Here's a finger width, you know, it's you can see my fingers almost going in there. So that's how much Bondo was on it. It was enough to bring it up to here. So now I'm just going to cut me a little piece in here and just weld it in, tack it good, and just keep working my way around here. I'll have to clean this up a little bit more right in this area to weld my patch. Probably at an angle like that. I'm not really concerned of any kind of a curve or radius or anything in here, because this is all going to have to get filled up with Bondo again anyway. But the oil cannon is completely gone. Now that it's out, it's pretty strong. Well, it's moving a little, but it's not welded out here on the edge either. So I mean, what I should do is take the fender off and get it on the inside and pound that out. I can't right now because I think there's a I don't know if I can get into it or not. I'm gonna try to reach up in there and see if I can't pound it out a little flatter, but if not, I'll just weld a patch. Well, here's my little patches welded in. I'll grind it down and fill any little holes I got. See what happens. Well, there's that. The fender's pretty straight here now. I still got a little dent there, but I couldn't really get that out. A straight edge is going to cover up all my inside weld here, and it's all looking pretty good. I'm going to clean it up here and throw a coat of Bondo on it, and we'll see what we got. First coat went on pretty good. Didn't mess anything up. I got it down tight against the skin there. So I'll let that dry and rough sand it off with 40 grit and put another one on it. There's very little on there actually. Maybe not even about 1/8 of an inch. Looks like it's going to take a little more right there, and probably right in here to fill this curve, but I think it'll be just fine. Looks like the lip is smaller down there than it is up here, but I'll fill that up and make that lip the same size all the way around. I think we'll be good to go. Well, I starting to layer the Bondo on here, and I started working on my doors here, trying to find the edge. Got a big old gap in this one, gets up to nothing at the top. I'm starting to get this pretty flat across here. I need a couple more coats of Bondo. I'm just building it up slowly rather than trying to put a big old chunk on and then have to set it all off. Painstaking process. Well, I got myself a nice clean crisp line all the way across there. It's sharp. I just did it both planes, but this can be rounded off a little by hand. I'm getting into a little high spot right here. I need to fill this, but the fender's nice. I've got a good shape to it all the way around here. I've got a few more low spots in here. This was a low spot, it got filled. But basically I want to put enough Bondo on here to bring this out straight, but probably a couple more fine coats. But anyway, I got looking at this door, and I adjusted it. I got it where it's flush across here. The back of the door and the window and everything is straight. This is almost straight. A couple little smacks with a hammer and that'll be perfect right there. This top gap is good. When it gets to about right here and it starts opening up, I got almost a finger's worth down in there. So I could either split this, cut this edge off, and move it that way some. I really don't want to do that because there's no way to get in there and weld it without taking off the door. So what I'm going to try to do is just clean this door edge up here and just run a couple beads of a weld up in there. When I open the door, I can get the back of it pretty good to smooth it out, but it's quite a bit of gap there. This is about a paint stick. That's about what I want, and down there is probably like 3. So I'm going to clean up this door edge, run some weld in it, and let you see what happened. Well, I made a couple passes there. I put one on just to build it up, and now I'm kind of going in trying to weld a little tiny short beads on the inside here. Can't really see there with the door in the way, but I've probably got a third of it at the bottom and almost all of it up at the top. So just keep going. Well, there we go. It's about the same all the way down now. This is looks a little thin in some places, but in other places it's real thick. And I've got it matching the door here, so I need to round it off a little because it's got a real super sharp edge. I just ground it this way and then took a cut-off tool and went down through it. Down there in the bottom, it's got a big opening. I need to do a little more welding on that. That one I'm not really particularly worried about. I could probably just Bondo it. I will weld it, but anyway, that's I went from 1/2 inch gap to 1/4 inch. Makes this gap look bad now, but these are stuff I can fill with Bondo. It's good enough for what I was after. So I'd say that's good for the door gap, and the back there, it's good enough. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time and gas on it. I'm about out of argon, or whatever it is, some inert gas. And I'll just give you a little close-up. You can see it's a little ragged, but I'll take my floppy wheel there, round that off a little. It's not going to make a lot of difference. This is a low spot right here. This is going to get filled with Bondo, but I think it's good. I'll just round it off with my flapper disc, and I've got a patch down in there I got to put in. Work some more on the door, make sure that I'm not trying to make the fender fit a caved in door, but this would be a deal for another day. This is all perfectly straight, and this is a whole lot better, so I think that was a pretty good lick for Saturday.